I still can't shake the fear from that night. It was late, and the moon hung full and heavy in the sky when I walked home from the market. The night was quiet, almost too quiet. The only sound was the soft crunch of my footsteps on the dirt path. Little did I know, I was about to witness something that would haunt me forever. The rich man, Mr. Kofi, lived at the edge of our village in a huge, crumbling house. It had once been magnificent, but over the years, it fell into disrepair. Despite its state, the house was still grand compared to the rest of the village. Mr. Kofi had made his fortune by exploiting others, buying cheap goods from poor farmers and selling them at outrageous prices. Everyone knew he was greedy and heartless, but we had little choice but to deal with him. That evening, I had been at the market, and the day had dragged on longer than I expected. As I walked home, the moon cast long shadows on the ground, and the cool night air sent shivers down my spine. I passed the rich man's estate, and for a moment, I noticed something odd. A strange, flickering light came from his house, like candles moving in the dark. Curious and slightly unnerved, I decided to get a closer look. I approached the old iron gate, which was usually locked but tonight stood slightly ajar. I slipped through quietly, my heart pounding in my chest. The large house loomed above me, its windows darkened except for the strange light from the back room. I moved closer, trying to stay hidden behind the overgrown shrubs. The shadows played tricks on my eyes, and I felt an unsettling chill as if I were being watched. Through a grimy window, I could barely see inside. The room was dimly lit, filled with a warm, flickering glow. At the center of the room sat Mr. Kofi at a grand table covered with an elaborate feast. The table was filled with every kind of food imaginable, roasted meats, fruits, and cakes. It was a sight to behold, but something was terribly wrong. As I watched, I saw that Mr. Kofi was alone, but he was not quite alone. The shadows in the room seemed to move of their own accord. They slithered and danced around him, twisting into strange shapes. At first, I thought it was just the light playing tricks, but then I saw them more clearly. These shadows had faces and hands, and they seemed to be reaching out towards Mr. Kofi. My breath caught in my throat. I wanted to run, but my feet felt glued to the ground. The air grew colder, and the whispers began, low and sinister. The voices were hard to make out, but they seemed to be speaking in an ancient language, filled with anger and mockery. I could feel the weight of their gaze, and it made me shiver uncontrollably. Mr. Kofi's laughter suddenly filled the room. It was a deep, throaty sound that was not human. It echoed and reverberated off the walls, growing louder and more menacing. The shadows seemed to respond to his laughter, swirling around him more quickly, their faces contorted in grotesque expressions. Then, the lights went out, plunging the room into darkness. I could hear Mr. Kofi's voice, still laughing, but now it was a harsh, mocking cackle that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere all at once. The whispers grew louder, merging into a cacophony of eerie, dissonant sounds. I felt a surge of panic and finally found the strength to turn and run. I dashed through the gate and down the path, not stopping until I was safely back in my small home. The next day, I woke to find the village buzzing with news. Mr. Kofi was missing. His house was found empty, and the feast was still laid out, untouched. The police came and searched the house, but there was no sign of him. They found no clues, no signs of a struggle, nothing. As days passed, rumors spread through the village. Some said that Mr. Kofi had angered the spirits with his greed and cruelty, and they had come to claim him. Others whispered that he had been dabbling in dark magic, calling forces he couldn't control. But no one knew for sure. I tried to put the night behind me, but the fear never left. The rich man's house remained empty and silent, a haunting reminder of that terrible night. I avoid the area completely, and whenever the moon is full, I can't help but feel a shiver of dread. I know what I saw, and I know I'll never forget the chilling laughter that echoed through the darkness.